Hi, welcome to Couch Conversations. My name is Rani, and this week we have Linu and Nikki joining us from We Are Chai. Linu, welcome, and it's good to have you on as well as Nikita. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, your cultural background, and then we'll get into your testimony.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Linu. I am 25. I'll be 26 on Christmas Eve coming up. I was born in India. My mom says that I smelt biryani and I came running out. That's the story. We are from Kerala, down south in India, but I lived in Chennai, which is a little bit more further up. I moved to the UK when I was 12 years old, and the first church that we ever visited was down the road, and that happened to be the church that Nikita also grew up in. So Nikita and I grew up in the same church, but we sat on very different sides. I was a goody two-shoes in the front, and Nikita was a rebel at the back.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
So obviously you're South Asian, grew up in India, you said. And at what point did you guys come over to the UK?
So we came when I was 12. My sister was about 16. It was at a point where my parents decided that, our kids deserve a better life. They need to have better education. And we looked at the process of what does that mean, which country we would go to. And at the time that we had an uncle who lives here, and he said, why don't you come here? My mom was a teacher back home. So they were like, come here, teach the kids here, why not? And so we prayed on it, we started that process, and God opened this door and shut so many other doors to so many other countries. And so then we packed our bags and we moved here, completely just trusting and reliant on the Lord to give us jobs, to give us provision, and to help sustain life when we get here. And he did above and beyond. Both my parents got a job. We got a house to stay in. We had help nearby. We had a church family nearby. And God really exceeded our expectation in giving us an extended family. He's amazing like that.
And then, so how have you found it? Obviously you were 12, so you weren't a young child, but you were still, coming up to your teens, I guess. How was that in terms of, being in India and the culture there versus the culture, obviously, in the UK, because the British culture is different. How did you find that transition?
Yeah, I think in some ways I had it a lot more easier than my sister might have. I was coming into year 7, so everyone was looking to make friends. And so when we went in, everyone's in that place of, okay, who's going to be my friend? Who are we going to gel with? So it was a lot more easier for me. But I did find a lot of differences. The way we spoke was different. Some people made fun of some of the way I pronounced some of my words. I would write in American English, which is what I grew up with. So going here and they're like, oh no, you spelled that wrong. I was like, no, I didn't. They're like, no, hey, here we use an S, not a Z. And I was like, oh, okay.
I have that backward work all the time.
Yeah, it was very interesting. They'll be like, you would have got 100%, but you spelled this wrong. So that was very interesting. And because I had moved from India, they put me on the bottom set for all my classes.
Right.
And it was way too easy for me. I thought, okay, how dumb are people here? This is not the level that you should be studying at. And then I learned that I was in the bottom set, which is probably why it was a bit too easy for me.
Right.
But it was good. I learned a lot. I enjoyed having design and technology, learning to stitch and cook, and that's not something that we are used to over there. And the learning style was completely different for sure.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, is that, obviously I would assume, not that I've lived in India, but do you think it was more strict in terms of was it more, in terms of your learning? Was it more strict? So like you just said, like here you learn how to sew and, DT and all those kind of things. But in India, what was, school life what was it? Just go to school, come home and, kind of get on.
Do homework.
Yeah.
and do homework and do more homework. And I think in India, at least when I was studying there was a lot of, you need to memorize this and have to get good grades, as if you memorize everything you need to do before your exam, and then you can just say it verbatim or write it verbatim.
Yeah.
And you'd get 2 hours, and then they'd give you papers upon papers, and then at the end of an exam set hall, within 5 minutes before your exam's meant to be finished, you'd poke a little hole at the top of the paper, put a little string through and tie it up, and that will be your whole exam sheet. So we'd have like 5-6 papers with a little thread in them.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Which, yeah, it is. I think it has a bit of a nostalgia feel to it. Now I kind of miss it. The whole like, oh, I got my thread now. It's time to put it in and tie it up.
To be fair, we had that as well. So we had like little metal bits at the end with a little green string in the middle. So if you had more than one exam paper, you had to tie it. You had not tie it, but you'd just loop it through, and it would hold it in place.
Yeah. But I think
that.
so that was really fun. But we didn't have the green loops. It was just like a white string that we would learn to do like a little slip knot.
Right.
So crocheting, slip knot, I was on it because I knew how to do it already.
Bless you. Well, it's really interesting to hear, obviously, you know, different cultural backgrounds. Obviously, I am British Asian, but again, even though we're both South Asian, we have had different, you know, you've been born in India, you've been brought up in the UK, and I've been brought up here. Now, I interviewed a girl called Hannah Thomas, you know, a few weeks back. And one of the things I'd obviously asked her was her name, because her name was Hannah Thomas. And I said, you know, did you get like a really weird kind of, you know, sense from people when they were like expecting a white girl or, you know, to stand up when they said Hannah Thomas? She said, yeah, because people don't expect a brown girl to stand up. So did you guys go to church when you were in India? So, you know, what was that like? What was that experience of church like?
Yeah, so my family is all from a Christian family. We come from a denomination called Syrian Orthodox Church. So it has very Catholicism style, but it is very they wouldn't classify themselves as Catholics. They're very strict on Syrian Orthodox churches. The priests wear robes. There's no women on the altar. If you're on your period, you don't come for confession, you don't come for communion. There's a lot of rules and regulations. They follow a lot of Old Testament style ways of life. They have the altar facing in the east, like how Moses and the temple of God did.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a very interesting denomination to come from. I've learned some of their prayers they have Hebrew words in them. So it was very interesting. And if they were speaking in very traditional Malayalam, and growing up, I had no idea what we were saying in church. It was 2 hours long. At some points, I'd have to do a cross, and at some point, I'd have to hold my hand together. And I was just going through the motion. I know that there was a God up there, because that's what everyone told me. But I didn't know the God up there. He was just a very distant God that I had to come see on a Sunday because I was made to, and not because I wanted to. And I didn't know that Jesus and God could be so personal to me. I just thought he was a God of the world, so he was just way up there, looking down on us all. But I didn't know how personal and intimate God can be, and that he wanted an intimate relationship with me until I moved here, until I found out what I was saying, until I read the Bible for myself. It was a religion that I was born into, but a relationship blossomed. Yeah, a relationship with God blossomed once I moved here. And I think I'm so grateful for that. I think that's the whole reason that we moved here, because we all now have an individual relationship with Jesus.
That's amazing. So tell us about your testimony. How you moved here, obviously went to the same church as Nikita. So tell us a little bit about, you know, your testimony in terms of is there a specific time that God just really spoke to you and ministered to you, and that's when you kind of discovered actually that, like you were saying, that is the more of a personal relationship, not just a transactional God.
Yeah, so I think when we moved here, it was interesting. I was learning more about God and who he is, and who they say he is in the Bible. And I thought I was good. I was like, I'm a good Christian. I'm learning to stop swearing at this point. I'm trying not to tell lies. I'm trying to be the good Christian. I go to church every day. I serve. And then I started university. I picked a course called Diagnostic Radiography, which has all to do with x-raying people. And I thought, this is great. After this, I'll have a job, easy. Our church did like a send-off. They took me to the front. They prayed for me. They gave me a book that says what to expect in university. And I was all excited. I went off to uni. I had a good couple of months. And then in January, I started experiencing my very first panic attack. I had just come back to university after Christmas. I was in bed getting ready to go to sleep when I felt this wave of emotion wash over me. And I had no idea what it was at the time. All I knew was that I did not feel like myself. I felt really fidgety. I felt very breathless. And I thought I was going to die. And God, at that point, being so wonderful, gave the whole accommodation building a fire alarm. Someone had left the door open while showering, which is a big no-no when you live in accommodation. And so the fire alarm went out. And when I went outside, I realized that, hey, if I distract myself long enough, maybe I could fall asleep and this would never happen again. So I did. I put on YouTube. I concentrated at what they were saying. It was some YouTube channel trying to make people laugh, and I fell asleep that night. But the anxiety didn't go away. The panic didn't go away. I didn't know it had a name until I came home that weekend and someone on TV stole a diamond necklace, and that set me off into another panic attack. But this time, all my family was around me, trying to figure out what was wrong, which was panicking me even more. And so then they called the paramedics, and it was a paramedic who said, hey, actually, you're okay, you're having a panic attack. I was like, okay, good. So tell me what I need to do, give me whatever drugs you need to give me. And they were like, only you can get yourself out of it. But don't worry, it only lasts for about 20 minutes. So that was my first experience. I learned that it had a name. And soon it was becoming a very frequent everyday experience. I was getting panic attacks all through the night, and I would wake up and go into work, go into hospitals the next day, taking x-rays of people, listening to people's heartaches. And I'd come home feeling so drained because I hadn't slept and I'd worked for about 8 to 10 hours. And eventually I learned that I could not go on. I was becoming less and less like myself. I wasn't eating. My dad would give me buckets and buckets of chicken. And if you know me, I love chicken. So the fact that I was saying no to chicken at this point, everyone was getting really worried. And my mom said, hey, Linu, if you're not enjoying this, why are you doing it? I don't think you would even be doing this job after you graduate. And at that point I was like, yeah, I don't think I'll be doing this. And I made the decision to quit my course, which was very, very hard because it took me so much heartache, and it was so much of a very heart-wrenching journey to get there, of like going through exams, going through A levels, which was horrific. And then to get there and then say, okay, now I'm quitting, was just a kick in the gut. And at that point I said no. I took the bus home that day and I said, you know what, Lord, I feel like I'm just floating away aimlessly and you're not there to catch me, which is what I thought you said you would do. Where are you? And if you're not here, then I'm not here either. We are done. And I shut the door on that. And then it became, and then I think anxiety was hard, but doing anxiety without God was even harder. I just became an empty shell. I was like a walking zombie, and at this point I couldn't watch anything which had something remotely sad. I could only watch Friends because I knew that did not have any sad moments in it at all. I would not be talking to my parents. I would just be in bed all day. And at one point my mom said, you know what, enough is enough. You are going out, you're going to be helping, and just go off to church, do something, just get out of the house. And so I did. I got out of the house. I started helping out at toddler club, and everyone, I had to tell my story because I had to explain why I wasn't working in the hospital, and it wasn't at a point where I was ready to tell people either, but I had to because I had to be out of the house, so I'm here. I had to tell people why I'm out of the house and why I'm not working. And in the end, my vicar, our pastor, said, hey, if you have nothing else to do, and I was like, thanks for the reminder, come help out at all of this other stuff. And one of the things that I helped out was a thing that was teaching women and little girls about their worth and value in God. And that was life-changing because God was reintroducing himself to me. Like all these things I was helping out at, God was revealing a bit more of himself. Even though I shut the door and I said, I don't want you, I found myself running back in and sneaking and having like a quick chat, like, oh no, actually I'm not talking to you, and then running back. And it was at this session for little kids where they talked about how God is a gentleman and how he loves you and wants you. That changed my life. And that was when Nikita and I actually started speaking for the very first time. And that was how We Are Chai started, because we walked home that day and then we shared a lot of our vulnerabilities and a lot of my heartache. And it was the first time I told someone about my anxiety on a very personally, because I wanted to and not because I was forced to or I had to.
Yeah.
So yeah, fast forward 2 months later, I went to Hillsong Church and they did an altar call, and I felt the tug on my heart to go back to Jesus. I knew I couldn't do this on my own, and I did. I gave my life to God, and in that summer I decided to do a degree called journalism. I did journalism, and God reminded me that I actually don't need any security. I don't need a secure job. I don't need any worldly security. All I need is him, and he will carry me through. And he has done. I have a job. I have been working. God has not left me or forsaken me.
That's wonderful.
And I'm living proof.
That is wonderful. That's both your testimonies are so powerful and yet culturally so different. But isn't it amazing how God brings people together? You know, you ended up at the same church as Nikita, and now you are both like running We Are Chai. So I don't know who wants to tell me, but tell us a little bit, about We Are Chai. That's how I met you guys. I was following your page and I thought, all these, who are these two girls? So, who's behind this? And got in touch with you. So tell us a little bit about We Are Chai. What is what is the purpose of that channel really? What do you want to do with it? What is it that you want to achieve?
Yeah, so I think for us, God really gave us something that I don't think, we were speaking about this, but I think God gave us, I'm going to try not to cry, but I think we needed it. I don't think we knew we needed it. And so when Chai came about, even just the name itself, God spoke to us differently. I was studying Hebrew at the time, and Linu was getting visions for a good year or so, revelations, I should say, about the dead coming to life. And I stumbled upon this word Chai, and it meant living, it meant alive. And so I came to Linu, and we were like wrestling and praying for a name. And
Chai means tea in the Indian language.
Yes.
I thought it was like We Are Tea.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Okay, so it's living.
It's a Hebrew word for living.
Wow.
So it's the Hebrew word, and so I think we get a lot of people saying, what's your name? Like, because they know Chai tea or Chai something, and so they go to us, what's your name? But it's not We Are Tea. As much as we do love tea, like it's definitely We Are Alive. It's basically a spin on We Are Alive, We Are Living. And so for us, actually I'll tag team over to you, Linu.
Yeah, I was going to say for us, it is about the community that we never knew that we needed, to be able to lean on each other. And we saw the power in that. We saw how life-changing it could be to have someone in your corner praying for you, pointing you back to Jesus. And I think that's what we wanted to be for other women. We wanted other women to not go through anxiety or to not go through grief on their own, but to have someone with them, walking with them, praying with them, lamenting with them. It's something that we really wanted. and we wanted their relationship in God to flourish and blossom. And the best way we do that is through spiritual discipline. It's through staying in the Word. It's through worshiping Him and being in constant communication with Him. And we were saying it, we also in some ways need Chai, in that we were the dead that needed to come back alive, and we want to journey with them through that, and journey with other women through that as well.
That's
and
amazing.
I think that's the heart behind Chai.
That is amazing. So where can people find you? What is your Instagram handle, or Facebook or Twitter? Where can they find you?
Yeah,
so people,
Instagram.
Yeah, our Instagram is @wearechai, and our website is www.wearechai.com.
Amazing. I am so proud of both of you. Like, just
Thank you.
what you're doing is so amazing, to talk to, women, and just to really encourage them on their walk with God. And, as you were saying, Linu, like, it's the word of God. So, and we're reminded that, we need to stay in the word of God, to be fed by it, so we can live by it. And essentially, pour that out to other people as well. So that is amazing. So it's so nice having both of you on this channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you want to leave? If there's one line or one word, or just something to encourage and inspire other people, is there anything that's on your heart that you want to share?
Yeah, I would want to say there is this. I'm in the book of Hebrews at the moment, but I want to read Hebrews 6:18, and it says, "So God has given both His promise and His oath. These two things are unchangeable, because it is impossible for God to lie. Therefore, we who have fled to Him for refuge can have great confidence as we hold on to the hope that lies before us." That's Hebrews 6:18, and I think for me, it is impossible for God to lie. So whatever it is that the enemy is lying about, trust me, God's truth prevails in every situation and every season. So I just pray, whoever's watching this and listening to this, if you feel downcast, if you feel like the enemy has just been on your back, know that God doesn't lie, and know that His promise, the fact that He makes beautiful covenants with us daily, He is so faithful, and He restores, and He is so in love with you. And I pray that you really, really, really get to hold on to His everlasting love.
Oh, Nikita, that is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Linu, was there anything you want to share? You don't have to. Don't feel you have to.
Yeah. No, I think in my heart, I just want to speak to the person watching this to say that you're not in this alone. You don't have to go through whatever you're going through alone. You have people on your side. You have brothers and sisters of Christ on your side, and even more than us, you have Jesus on your side. So come sit with us if you'd like. We would love to sit with you and pray with you, but also we'd want to point you back to Jesus, because He is the one who could change your life this very instant. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. Thank you both so much for joining me this morning. It is wonderful to have you both.
It was so fun.
And yeah, no, it's really lovely having both of you. And, to anyone watching, Nikita and Linu's testimonies, please do get in touch with them. They are wonderful women of God. And I've seen Linu praying on Instagram. So if you need prayer, any of us are here and available to pray with you. And it seems a bit of a, in our generation, it seems like a strange thing. I don't know if I want to believe in God. I don't know if I want prayer, but the power of prayer is so valuable and so strong. That we have seen prayers answered, and sometimes God doesn't answer prayer, and there's a heartache in that. But we understand later on sometimes why that prayer was not answered. So yeah, and Nikita, as you were saying, predestined, God has written everything. That doesn't mean that we don't have free will, folks. It means that we do have free will, and we will go our own way because we're rebellious. That's the human nature, to be rebellious. So we will make mistakes, but God doesn't go, right, out you go, you're done. There's a couple of things that God does in the Bible, but apart from that, God's love is just we all know it's just so deep and unfathomable that you can't even understand, how much He loves us sometimes, that you're still trying to figure out what is God doing and saying in our lives. So follow We Are Chai on Instagram. Thank you, ladies, for both of you for joining us this morning, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Please.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.